You're listening to China Manufacturing Decoded from the Sofeast Group.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the China Manufacturing Decoded show. And today's a treat, and I have two guests, actually. The topic is about the Chinese legal system. And what we're going to look at is what legal protection as a buyer you can have in the Chinese legal system if you get bad product or fake product. All right. And as I mentioned, I have two guests today, both of them from the Liangma Law Firm in Shenzhen. And I'm going to have the honor, the chance today to ask some questions to Jessica Su, who is a senior trial litigator at Liangma Law in Shenzhen, as I mentioned. Jessica is a legal counsel and a perennial advisor for various government bodies and well-known private enterprises. Welcome to the show, Jessica. Time we have to interview you here.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And Clive Greenwood, who's been on the show quite a few times, is also joining us because he works with Jessica. As a reminder, he's a senior compliance counsel at Liangma Law Firm. And big news actually came out last week. You won the APEC award as the technical legal consultant, best technical legal consultant of 2024. Is that correct? That's in the APEC
that's right,
Insider magazine, right?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Yes, that was rather surprising, to say the least. I was delighted and very honoured to get it. But the other thing is that we also got the ethics award as well from the same magazine, which was part of the whole team.
The most ethical law firm in China. Look at that. Well. All right. Well, a nice job. So let's jump into the topic. So as I mentioned, the topic is in the Chinese legal system as a buyer. What kind of recourse can I have? What are my chances? How does it actually work? Right. So Jessica, the first question, a general question, what kind of advice would you give a Western company that finds itself in a dispute with a Chinese supplier, a dispute related to quality? Do you have some general advice to give them in that case?
Yes, of course. In China, we have a lot of suppliers to abroad to give them the product, such as tablet, the phone, the cell phone, and such as those things. But first, you should know the companies in China. We should go to confirm the qualification of this company. And if we have the quality issues, the first of all is we should communicate clearly and transparently to understand the root of causes. Yes. So we should recognize the local context and the cultural differences and to seek to cooperate with the suppliers. That's I think is the important thing. And if we should improve the process and the standards, maybe we can offer support and the guidance to help the supplier to improve the process and the standards, the required standards, So, and then we should establish the detailed quality agreements and the rigorous quality assurance measure. The measure, the standards are different between the China and the other countries, right? So we should know what's the standard and what's the quality if you acquired, right? So if you want to, another factor is to consider the capacity building integrative to help the supplier improve their capabilities. My answer is okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So, 100%. Fully agree. I'm nodding. Yes.
Yeah.
So far, what you've said is good due diligence, clarify the quality standard, and basically tell them very clearly in specific ways what you need. if you have some issues, communicate, make sure they actually fully understand the issues,
Yes.
and try to actually help them to improve their capability to
process.
actually reach your
Yeah.
standard, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Also, we should maintain the patience and the cultural systems throughout the whole process. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So you mean not
Okay.
not coming out in a very aggressive manner, maybe where the supplier might just, okay, I close myself, I stop communicating, right?
Yeah, we should open our mind and keep the patient. Because the different culture have some different thought, and the language and it's also different. So we should give us the patient. Okay. Yeah.
Up to what point?
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it does, but Jessica, up to what point?
so I think I really like what Jessica said, because this is all about preventing the situation where you really have to go to court, right? So this is really the fundamentals that you need to take care of to make sure that things, that the supplier actually can meet your requirements, right? And then I think Clive's point is that sometimes some suppliers maybe are not interested in cooperating or really push it too far, right? So that's something else.
Yes. So if the buyer want to purchase the product, they should know what is the certification. Is this really sure to abroad to the other country, such as the ISO 9001? The certification is most important to the Europe, to American, right?
Yeah, of course.
So we should.
So again,
we should do something.
Back to due diligence, then, right? Making sure you work with the right people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prevention is always better than the cure, but what happens when?
But in China,
the medicine?
in China, if you have the issue about we should sue to the legal action, maybe we have two ways to solve the problem. So the one way is to sue, the another way is negotiate. But if you want to sue to the court, you have to prepare a lot of documents to prove to the court the evidence how to important and the evidence how to enough to improve your damage. But not in China, in every world, in every country, we also need the evidence. But it's Yes, it's really complicated. But if the court don't know the fact, they should know what has happened, what is damage, what is the fake certification, how to improve it. So the evidence is most important thing in everywhere and country. So if we have the issue in China, we should use the Chinese legal system, the Chinese law, how to use the Chinese rules. That's why the lawyer is most important to the foreigner buyer, right? So if you don't know the rules, you don't know the root of causes, you don't know how to resolve, how to solve the issues. Yes.
Yep.
So
that makes sense. Yeah, that brings me to my second question, actually. So you mentioned if you really want to go to court, right? You just mentioned you need to prepare a lot of paperwork and, prepare the evidence in exactly the right way, all in Chinese, of course, and so on and so forth, right? So one question people often have is they say, well, I sent a PO for maybe $50,000 US, let's say. And then I got poor quality products, like they blatantly did not comply with my requirements. Okay. But still, for only $50,000, it doesn't make any sense for me to sue them anyway. Does that make sense? Whereas if it were maybe $5 million, it would make a lot of sense, right? if someone asks you, maybe you have a client ask you these types of questions, what would you tell them?
Maybe, if you want to negotiate with the supplier, that's the best way. But, if you want to pursue the legal action, it's not a definitive lower cut-off limit. If you want to decide to pursue the legal action. So it depends on the various factors, such as the potential recovery amount, the importance of dispute, and the long-term strategic consideration. So it's a lot of factors in this, not just because the money, the count. It's also something like that, the face and how to trust in the future, how to cooperate in the future, and how to tell the supplier to improve their process and their quality. So as a general, for smaller dispute, maybe the legal costs and time investment may outweigh the potential recovery, right? Making it less worthwhile to pursue legal action. However, it is a case-by-case assessment, and some companies may still choose to take legal action for smaller disputes if the underlying issue is significant.
And what I was mentioning was maybe the PO amount is not very high, but what if these products were delivered maybe to maybe an industrial company, and then they use it in their factory, and then it creates enormous, financial losses, right? Or maybe even, I don't know, the building blows up, people die or something like that, right? Some catastrophic consequences.
Yeah.
Okay. From what I heard before, in Chinese law, maybe the buyer can sue for damages also, right? And is that quite common to sue a supplier when there's a quality problem, right? For a lot of extra damages.
Consequential damages.
Right.
Yes. The
Is this
damage
relatively common? Yeah.
Yeah. So if the damage is the huge, it's not the small, we should use the legal action. It's the master way to solve the problem. But if you think it's not necessary, is the damage too small? Maybe I want to save the cost and time and don't want to invest a lot of energy or the cost of money to this case. Maybe they could negotiate. Maybe we could find another corporate in this business. Maybe we can give the supplier or the buyer some other chance to cooperate. But if you want to back to the damages is need to some ways to talk to the supplier, to the boss. Maybe we can, there's a lot of skills in China in lawyer, but I think I don't want to talk a lot in this video.
So I think that what Jessica's saying there, if I may interject, is that in some cases the threat of legal action can be actually much worse than actually the legal action. I think that we've all agreed that once you go down the legal route, there is no future in that relationship ever again anyway.
Yeah, in China, it's pretty clear, I think, yes.
It's pretty, well, generally speaking, the rest of the world is. The fact what Jessica's saying is that consequential losses, yes, you can sue for. Is that correct, Jessica?
Yes, right.
So that answers your question there, Renaud, that yes, you can sue for in that case. So at which point, what you would be looking at there would be that the actual legal fees itself would come out of the consequential damages which were paid. So that, again, is working with a law firm which understands these things. And don't forget as well, when you go down this route, there is many insurance options that you can take out as well.
Insurance.
Yeah.
Legal insurance, yes.
As you are suing, for example, a supplier, you expect to collect a certain amount of damages. That's what you mean, right? But you haven't collected them yet. You still need to go through the legal proceedings. But what you're saying is that there's ways to actually get some money in advance through an insurance policy?
No. Basically, what your insurance policy that you could take out for would be based on the insurance company would look at the case, look at the strength and weakness of the case. They may help you with the legal fees for a proportion of it, or what they may do is, as Jessica can explain to you, is we can look at freezing assets of the defendant against these legal claims. Mm-hmm. So there, as Jessica says, there are many different ways that you can do this. And again, if you talk to a good experience certainly Jessica as a trial lawyer, they will sit down and say, this could happen to you if you do not cooperate.
If uncooperate.
Yes. If you become uncooperate, this is what could happen.
Actually, that brings me to
the supplier not cooperate, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Maybe
so again, the threat.
If we have the judgment, we can go to the court to enforce them. This is the right. This is our buyer's right. If we have really damage, the quality is really bad, and give people some very bad consequence. Well, of course, we can go to the court and get the judge and go to the court to enforce them. Of course. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
it's a legal right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So that brings me to the next question. Do you have any experiences or examples of cases where you were involved with a foreign buyer who got, poor quality, even maybe fake products or products with fake components or anything like that, basically bad products from a Chinese supplier, maybe a Chinese manufacturer? And, anything you can share that would be interesting, because people are wondering,
it doesn't break
confidentiality
as well, Jessica.
Yes. We have two cases, and we cooperate with Clive, and that company is a foreigner and buy the laptop in China, in Shenzhen. Yes, so there's a lot of bad quality, and the battery is wrong in the other country. So this is, but it's a legal action in China. We already have every case we have have 2 times in the court. The judge really focus on how to the quality, what's the problem, and how we could improve the evidence to improve the quality is so bad. So we have a lot of evidence to improve us, because we have the Clive's statement, Clive as a competence profession, and we have the supplier's AD report, and to state what the problem is, and we have the very professional organization give us the tasting report, and those the evidence to the buyer is good to buyer. And yes, so but the final judgment is not to make, so we should wait the consequence from the court. But maybe it's but the legal action is a long journey. It really should take a long time, maybe 6 months or 12 months, such as. So maybe these 2 cases we should wait sometimes, maybe more than three months. Yes. But in this case, we have a lot of meeting to discuss what the problem is, and the Clive give a lot of professional suggestions. Yes, thanks, Clive.
No worries, Jessica.
Yeah.
So that there's already a few things here that are interesting, right? The first one is that the court actually took the case. Like you went, did you say there's 2 suppliers involved? Did you try to sue more than 2 suppliers and it was not accepted, or did you sue 2 suppliers and then these 2 cases
Yeah, 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Two
Yeah.
for two. Okay.
2 for 2. Yeah.
That's the first thing. Okay. The second thing is, from what I understand, it's not like you come with your evidence, you have one chance, and then the judge will go one way or the other. It looks like it's a more elaborate process, basically, where the judge would say, well, you get this point, but maybe here is not so clear. You need to keep working on your arguments and your evidence. Is that correct? Because that seems like a pretty fair process based on what you just said.
Yes, that's exactly what happens. The first part of it is the first initial hearing, to which basically the court has to accept the case first, which is done by submission. Then you get a court date, then you go to court, they have what you would call a preliminary hearing. And after that, you call back, and again is when we start looking at the evidence. And what Jessica's saying here is the value of your evidence is considered by the court, and the completeness of your evidence by the court.
Yeah, okay.
That's why it's vital. Remember, we keep saying, make sure you do the due diligence, make sure you have proper contracts, make sure that you understand what you are doing, make sure the supplier understands what you want, and do not leave anything to chance. Because if you get to a point where Jessica has to become involved, that is when all of this is going to come into play.
Right. So if I understand correctly, if the due diligence and writing very clear product specifications and getting a good contract, calling for enforcement in China, etc., if all of this was done nicely in advance, then it makes things much easier once you are suing the supplier. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. The contract and evidence is really important.
Right. Okay. So actually, that brings me to. Yeah, please.
Okay. If you know your contract and items to prove you're already to sure what's the standard, what's the mode, what's the value, and what's the money, how to improve your state. So the judge wants you a paper, how to write, how to ensure, and anything we should ensure this already written in the paper, in the documents.
So as much as possible, things like standards. Again, what is required and then what happens if things go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So which brings us to the point, which was your part of your question.
Yeah.
Part of the evidentiary process is how you come to your conclusion to place the business with this supplier, which is your due diligence. Now, let's assume, Jessica, that they showed you a nice ISO 9001 certificate.
Yeah.
And you didn't do part of the due diligence, that you didn't actually check that number, as I showed you before how we check these things.
Yeah.
So you took it on face value. Mm-hmm. Then it turns out that certificate is actually either not true or they haven't implemented that system. So as you know, let's assume that you have got a certificate to say that you are maintaining a quality management system to a certain standard, be it ISO 9001 or medical standard 13485 or TS 16949. These are standards which you have said you are maintaining. So, Jessica, what happens if that certificate is fake?
Yeah.
I assume that's fraud.
Just you said, in our case, in China, we are cooperate this case. If we have evidence to improve the certification is fake, we also have some other legal actions. We just use the civil law and to solve the problem. If they're fake, maybe we can have another ways to solve administration. Also, even though it's a crime, So
Wow.
It's based on how to bad to the person, to the company, and what's the quality issue, and what's the certification is really fake. Is to we just need to lot of evidence to prove it. So the evidence is the most important in anywhere in the legal system. Yes.
So the three things that Jessica's talking about there, if I may. The first one is you can go and call it a civil case. The next thing is that you can go to the administration bureau and report it to them, and then they would take up the case. Or it could be reported to the police as well as a criminal fraud.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, is this theoretical or?
No, it's practical.
That really
it's practical. It's
just practical
okay.
in our two cases in China now.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Because a lot of buyers have been, burned by some suppliers, and there's so many cases where the supplier has maybe it was some fake certificates, often about the products, right? But sometimes also ISO 9001, but most often it would not be implemented. It's just paperwork for decoration, right? And it's not implemented. So in these cases, you're telling me that it's actually possible to bother the supplier to go and see maybe the administration and say, well, this is a fake. You need to help us here. And the supplier would get in trouble, or even to the police.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. And I guess, I guess that would work if it's a lawyer goes there, right? Because otherwise you don't really know how to present that. You get to match that to certain clauses in the civil law, code, or, whatever you call it, the exact acts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The natural act is this, and if I may, Jessica, if the buyer has been presented with a certificate and that certificate says that company, for example, operates a quality management system in accordance with international standards, and they have presented a document in format which is presentable to the court, in other words, that they have put it on a website, for example. They've put a picture of their ISO certificate, for example, on the website. And then that's not true. That is fraud.
Yes, maybe it's have a bad result to the foreigner or to the other any buyers. Maybe they should take the responsibility to fake, to trade. Yes, but you should know what is exactly the fake, and we should prove
that's simple, Jessica. Yeah, Jessica, that's simple. A real certificate, you can go online and check it in a national database, the international database. It's got
it's really a fake.
It's simple. They have a number. You type that number in. If it comes up with nothing, it's a fake. That's it. Simple.
Yeah.
So it's possible to actually, let's say, go after a supplier and have some extra leverage if they're not cooperating. That's one more way to go at them, right? Basically. But again, this is something that you would pull the trigger on only when you think, okay, that's it. That's the end of the business relationship with the supplier, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think there is different things that you've got to look at here. Once you escalate this up to Jessica's level, that is the end of it. That's the end. There's no more talking. Okay, we've done talking. You're now in front of a judge. And all of this thing, all of these fake certificates, all of this you said, she said, that's right, that's not right, that's going to come out in the open.
Right. Yeah, it's litigation. This
is litigation now, and that's it. It's already done.
Yeah, right.
So, as Jessica was saying earlier, the threat at that point is best delivered by, well, let's be sort of like about this. Probably me and Jessica walking into your room and saying to you, we need to have a chat.
But if anybody in China have the rights to protect their rights, we have we have the civil rights, we have the administration's rights, we have criminal rights, criminal. So I think we don't talk about how to break the relationship, the business between the buyer and the supplier. We should do some to how to improve the suppliers, the process and their standards. To give more chance, give more chance to the buyer and the supplier.
I agree with you, Jessica, but it comes a point in the commercial relationships when you are no longer the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's preventive work, let's say remedial work, when you still hope that you can make it work, and then there's recovery.
Then there's reality.
Losses. And
at which point then there is reality. And that reality then starts to look at, first and foremost, have you got your documents all correct?
Yeah.
Which now looks at back to the evidence. Each way we keep going back and back, and every time we speak, we keep going back to preparation and due diligence.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's a great way to conclude the podcast, I think, because we're getting out of time here. But basically, my sort of conclusion, if you agree, from what I heard, is that obviously there needs to be a lot of work, again, as we mentioned, in prevention of issues, right? Picking the right people to work with, getting the right types of contracts, helping them, giving them feedback, clarifying the quality standards, specifying things. And then when there are issues, seeing, okay, are we still in the let's make it work phase, or are we past that? And then in that case, and that's really what we wanted to cover in this episode, is there actually still leverage for the buyer to push the supplier into litigation and to put them in a very uncomfortable situation, again, if the evidence is on their side, right? And to, in the end, collect for what you call consequential losses, right? Or damages. And basically the answer I got today is that yes, buyers should not overlook that possibility. And also Chinese suppliers should maybe not be so brash, about, whatever is China here, nobody will sue us, right? Things maybe have been changing. And a lot of Chinese suppliers have not really caught on to that reality, right? So that's also my thinking here.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. It is true. In closing, I would just say, in China, they operate the system of caveat empora. The buyer beware.
Yeah. Yes.
Unfortunately, we use caveat ventura. The seller must also be aware. This meeting is what we're talking about. China's legal system is there and it will protect you. You may, as a buyer from overseas with a Chinese supplier, you may alleviate yourself through litigation with the Chinese courts. It takes longer than expected, but it is still there.
It's still an option. It's on the table.
It's definitely an option, yes.
Okay. Well, that's basically what I was wondering before this podcast episode. So thanks a lot. Again, my guests were Jessica Su, a senior trial litigator at Liangma Law Firm in Shenzhen. Yeah, thank you so much, Jessica, for coming on and sharing your advice and experiences. And
thank you.
Also,
in China, there's if you compare China with other countries, for example, the chocolate, I think the China's product the price is more lower than other countries, but the quality is now is good enough than before. So maybe in the future, maybe they can prove their process and the standards, maybe to confirm be sure the ISO 9001 is really true and not fake certification. So maybe with a good business environment, maybe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's already a lot of good ones.
Thank you.
Let's be clear. It's just inconsistent. So let's hope it's going to be more consistent. Yeah. Thanks a lot. And thanks also to Clive, again, who's been here for a few times. And again, congratulations on the award. As I just repeat, Best Technical Legal Consultant 2024. Oh, nice one here. All right.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks to the listeners, and you will hear from us.
The English is not my mother's the language, so maybe the accent and the price may be not so good to express my thought.
No, it's fine, Jessica. Don't worry.
I think it's pretty good. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
And just as a closing, to the listeners, thank you, and you will hear from us again next week as usual.
Thanks again for listening to this podcast brought to you by the Sofeast Group. We're on a mission to provide you with everything you need to manufacture effectively in Asia, including inspections, auditing, new product development support, contract manufacturing, 3PL warehousing and fulfillment, and much, much more across Asia's key manufacturing areas. Visit us at sofeast.com, that's SOFEAST.com, to learn more and get help. If you've enjoyed the podcast today, please do rate, review and share, because it will really help others discover us too.